Hi everyone, today we're gonna build this simple calculator using Vue JS, and I will also use Bootstrap just to speed up the styling. Let's quickly review the application. So 8 times 3 equals 24, divided by 2 equals 12, minus 2 equals 10, plus 5 equals 15, and you can calculate the percentage and clear the result. You can also use decimals using the dot button, and that's it. So first I will create the HTML and CSS, and then I'll add the Vue functionalities. If you get stuck at any time during this tutorial, you can check out the completed source code on my GitHub. I will add the link in the description. It will mean a lot if you subscribe to the channel and also comment and tell me if you found this video useful. Alright, let's get started. So I'm gonna assume that you already have Node and Vue installed. If you don't, make sure to install them first. I will add a link for the Vue installation page in the description. Let's create a new project named Vue Calculator app. Let's go with the default preset, and I will get back to you once the installation is finished. Okay, so now the project is created. Let me just open VS Code. First, let's go over the file structure. The entry point of our Vue application is index.html file, which is located in the public folder. So you can see here that we have a div tag with ID app. This is basically where our Vue application will be injected. And if we go to main.js, you can see that we are importing two files, Vue and app.vue. So here we are initializing the root Vue component, which is app.vue, to the div tag with ID app on our index.html page. Let's open our root Vue component app.vue. Notice here that Vue imported an example component for us named hello world, and this is how the file looks like. Let's get back to app.vue, and because we don't actually need the hello world component, let's delete everything inside the main div tag. Let's delete the styling, and let's rename the hello world.vue component to calculator.vue. Just make sure to change the import name and the register component name to calculator. I will now add the calculator component inside the main div tag. Okay, cool. Let's open the calculator.vue file and delete everything inside the main div tag. Delete the hello class and delete the CSS code. Change the component name from hello world to calculator. And it's time to start the development server. But first let me add some text here just to see if everything works as it should. To start the development server, just run npm run serve in your terminal. Open this local link, and voila, we have hello world text on our page. Fantastic. Let me just divide the screen. And now I will install Bootstrap. To install Bootstrap, just run npm install Bootstrap. We also need to import the Bootstrap CSS file in our main.js file like this. And that's it. Now we're using Bootstrap in our project. Let's get back to the calculator.vue file, and now I will start building the HTML and CSS for our calculator. Delete the hello world text and add padding 3 class to the main div tag. Add inline style, maximum width of 400 pixels, margin 50 pixels top and bottom, and auto for left and right. And for the background, I'll use hex color 234. Now I'll create a div tag for our calculator result with class width full, rounded, margin 1 and padding 3, text right, lit, font weight bold, text white, background view dark. And let's create this background view dark class. Let me just open the calls for our application. And I will use this hex value 31475E for our background view dark class. I will now add a 0 inside our div tag for the calculator results. And we actually want to render a view variable instead of this 0. So let's scroll down and create a data function which should return an object. And in this data object we will define our properties that we are going to use inside this calculator component. Create a calculator value property which will be an empty string by default. And now we can render the value of calculator value inside our div tag like this. And I will add a fallback to 0. This basically means if the value of calculator value is not defined, we will get 0. If, for example, I change the value of calculator value to 12, we will get 12 in our div tag. And if the value of calculator value is empty, we will get this fallback 0. Let's now create the calculator buttons. For this I will create a div with class throw and no getters. And inside this div I will create another div with class call3. And let's scroll down and create an array of all the button values that our calculator will have. Create an array named calculator elements. And let me open the screenshot of our calculator. I will now add all the calculator button values in order from left to right, starting from C in our calculator elements array. Now we can loop through the values of this array and display each value on our page. So let's add a v4 directive in our div tag and in calculator elements. And we need to provide a unique key attribute for each item. The key property will help Vue reuse and reorder existing elements. Just remember that the key has to be unique and it has to be a string or numeric value. Let's render n in our div. And we get this on our page. I will put n inside another div tag and add class lit. Text white, text center, margin 1, padding white 3, background view dark, rounded, and one more class named hover class. Let's create the hover class. Add the hover selector, add cursor pointer, and change the background to this hex value 3D5875. Save that, and if we hover over our calculator buttons, you can see that the background and the cursor change. Cool. Let's add another class named background view green, which will have a background of 3FB984. And let's conditionally bind this class to our div tag. Just add colon before the class, and inside the class add an object The object property should be a CSS class, and the value of the property should be true or false, indicating if the class should be injected inside the class list. Since we only want to use this CSS class for our clear, multiply, divide, subtract, add, percentage, and equals buttons, we can put all these values inside an array. And basically we can check if the array includes the value of n using the includes function, and this function will return true if the value of n is included in the array, and false if the value of n is not included in the array. This means that whatever button value we put inside the array will have a green background for that button. Cool, let's start with the Vue functionalities. Add a click event on our div tag, which will call a method named action and will pass n as an argument to this method. Scroll down and create this method. In Vue.js, we put our methods inside the methods object, and in this object I will create the action function. I will add a condition which will check if the click button value is numeric value or if it's equal to dot. And if this is true, we want to append the button value to our calculator value string. Notice that I'm adding plus empty string at the end. I'm doing this to convert the numeric value to string value. Let's test this out. And it works as expected. Let's now add the clear option. So add another condition which checks if the click button value is equal to C. And if that's true, we just want to set the value of calculator value to an empty string. Let's test this out. Okay, so let's create the percentage option now. Add another condition which checks if the click button value is equal to the percentage symbol. And if that's true, just divide the calculator value with 100 and convert it to string. Test it out. Cool. And now let's add the functionality for the operators. Create another condition. Inside the condition, create an array with all the operators and check if the array includes the value of the clicked button, which is n. And if that is true, set the operator value to n. Let's just create the operator property. Set it to null. And we need to remember the current calculator value, so set the value of previous calculator value to calculator value. And let's create the previous calculator value property. By default, it will be an empty string. And the final thing left to do is calculate the new value after the equal button is clicked. So let's add another condition which will check if the clicked button value is equal. And if that is true, we will use the eval function to calculate the value of the string. So the eval function takes one argument, which should be a string, and if the string represents an expression, the eval function will basically evaluate the expression. So set the value of this calculator value to eval, and let's add a string as an argument. This previous calculator value, concatenate that with this operator and concatenate that with this calculator value. Okay, let's just reset the values of previous calculator value and the operator. Let's test it out. Something is obviously wrong. Actually, we need to clear the value of calculator value when the operator button is clicked. Okay, let's test it out now. 10 times 7 equals 70, and now it seems to be okay. Divide 70 by 2 and we get 35 minus 5 equals 30 plus 9 equals 39, and the percentage is 0.39. Let's also test it out with decimals. Okay, cool. One more thing that I forgot to do is change the white background to Vue dark background. Let me quickly do that. Set the body background to this value. And there we go. Alright guys, that's all for today's video. I hope you've learned a thing or two about Vue JS. And if you haven't subscribed already, make sure to subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.